Welcome to another edition of One-on-One with Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week from the band 6 a.m., a man who is responsible for writing a lot of the songs that make up the soundtrack of my life. It is bassist NIKKI SIXX. The band has a new album called Prayers for the Damned, Volume 1. There is a Volume 2 coming later this year, most likely in the fall. And here, without further ado, a man who needs no introduction, but I will give him one anyway. It is the one, the only, NIKKI SIXX. Pleasure to talk to you.
Good. I'm excited to talk to you, too.
And I've been listening to the album. It sounds great. So let's talk about Prayer for the Damned. Talk to me about the songwriting process. When you were in Mötley, you did a lot of the writing yourself. This one and the other 6 a.m. albums, it seems to be all three guys. So
Right.
Talk to me about writing with other guys and getting this thing all together.
Well, I mean, I've had every situation as a songwriter where I write everything 100% from the melodies, the guitars, the bass parts, the lyrics, and I've also been in situations where I've, co-wrote for other people's records. I really enjoy that. But with James and DJ and myself, we're a band. It's really the three of us that kind of create this music, and parts of it, the way it sounds is because of DJ. Other parts are because of James. Other parts are because of me. And it's just something happens between the three of us. And we really enjoy that. So it doesn't ever really come down to ego or who gets more or, any of that weird stuff. It comes down like, what's the best thing for the project, for the song, for the fans.
Do you consider the singer when writing a song, like when you're writing for Vince's voice, did you write a certain way, and when you write for James's voice, you write a different way, or is that just not relevant?
Well, we write for James's voice.
Okay.
So James is involved in that process. And a lot of times James will say, hey, I like that melody line you have, and then he'll take it and turn it into something, or sometimes DJ will be playing something. I go, that's really cool. That'd be cool, as part of a bass line. And he'll go, yeah, you could add this, and then he'll lead me down a track for a different kind of a bass thing. So we're very much a unit in that case. When I was writing a song like Livewire, for example, I wrote that for Vince Neil's voice.
Right.
That's all there is to it. And the way Tommy played drums, the way Mick played guitar, the way Vince sang, the way I played bass, what made it Mötley Crüe. The thing is, when you're writing songs, you have to. There's a lot of elements, but if you don't write it for the vocalist, then it doesn't make any sense. If you're in the wrong key, Vince sings really great in A, which is actually G, because Mötley Crüe tunes a whole step lower. So that is his sweet zone, and so you'll find a lot of stuff in either D or G for Vince, and that's because that's where it's his voice sounds really good right there.
Right. Now, Prayers for the Damned Volume 1 is coming out on Friday. There is a Volume 2. Are they sort of companion pieces where the music is sort of all the same and it's just more, or did you have to separate them because of some kind of thematic element or musical element?
Well, we think that always our albums are a little bit thematic, but there is a definite separation in the two albums. They are two completely different albums. I'm not going to lie that there's a song on our album called Everything Went to Hell. There's kind of a sister song to that, or a big brother song to that, on the second record. And we have these two beautiful songs. One's called Better Man, and it's on Prayers for the Damned. And we have another song that is called Maybe It's Time, which is maybe one of the best songs we've ever written. We're really excited about it, and they really wouldn't belong on the same record because it would kind of slow the record down. So for us, we had this huge freedom in writing so much music and to say, hey, let's put them on this album, let's put them on this album, let's separate them a little bit so fans could listen to all 11 songs on Prayers for the Damned, We can go out, we can tour, they can get to know it, get to know the band as a touring band, get to know our band. You know, we have other musicians that we tour with, and then we come home, you know, reconvene, and then we're going to drop the second record, and then we're going to be going out on an arena tour with Five Finger Death Punch and Shinedown, and that's going to be, you know, another great opportunity for us. So we're just really loving having so much music to put out and so many opportunities to play in front of people.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Now, talk to me about building a new brand, because, you know, with Mötley, it's a very established band. It's been 30-some years. You could call up a promoter and say, we're coming to your show, to your venue, let's go. Is it a new challenge for you? Why get involved in building a new band and brand?
Well, because artists make art.
Right.
Photographers shoot pictures, musicians write, songwriters write. That's just the way it is. So you may or may not be as successful as something else you've done. Who would have thought that a guy in Mötley Crüe that didn't graduate high school would write 2 New York Times bestsellers? You know, so like you can't really go, well, Mötley Crüe is massive, so now what? And I'm like, well, what now is you keep creating, you keep making music, you love to play live, so you take it and you play live, and if you're strategic and if you're lucky and if it's the right time on earth, people can connect to it, and if you know, keep your standard high. And that's where we're at, you know, as a band. And the other thing is it's a very stress-free environment. We really do love each other. We're best friends. We laugh a lot. There's a lot of heavy subject matter in 6 a.m. I think that's what gets us through as well. So, you know, it's kind of, to answer your question, you know, why? Because I guess we don't really have a choice.
Right. Now, do you enjoy that freedom? Because when you're working with the other band, there's a certain expectation of what an album should sound like and what a tour should look like. Here, are you trying to establish a 6 a.m. sound, or can you just sort of go wherever and that's what it'll be?
Well, I think the fact that we can go everywhere is, in a weird way, our sound. You remember our first album was a soundtrack to a book.
Right.
So it wasn't even really meant to be a touring rock band, and then Life is Beautiful became a #1 hit, and we were like, wow, like people kind of like really took to the band and the record, and it's just been this thing now where we realize we can kind of do whatever we want, and we don't have to rely just upon, you know, kind of a boxed in thing. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Talk to me about the other band that you once had, Brides of Destruction. How does 6 a.m. compare, or, you know, why didn't Brides of Destruction go on for years and years and years?
Well, Brides of Destruction was, Mötley was on a pretty long hiatus, and I was itchy, and I wanted to do something, and I wanted to kind of revisit my punk rock roots. And so it was kind of like this punk rock, metal, pop. I don't know if you've heard songs like... oh,
yeah, I bought the albums.
Yeah, okay. Stuff like Natural Born Killer and stuff. I really think it was a great record. I mean, I had a lot of fun. We went out, we toured, got back together with Mötley, and so that was kind of that.
And that was it was a fun project, and you know, London was definitely an interesting singer. 6 a.m. recently penned an open letter basically to Google and YouTube talking about artist rights and royalties, and I support you fully in that. And I'm just curious as to why there's this double standard when Major League Baseball or the NFL come and say to YouTube, hey, we're going to enforce our copyright. They go, yes, of course, not a problem. When a musician says it, and I've been reading some of the online posts about what you wrote, and it's like, well, Nikki's at this and Nikki's at that. Why do you think there is a double standard when it comes to musicians with their copyright, and what change do you hope to effect?
Well, I mean, we're talking a constant changing, breathing thing of streaming services, right? So, you know, it took a long time to get the record industry right, if we ever did get it right. to get artists paid. If you go back to the early days, artists really had no rights. And, artists fought for those rights for a long time. And basically, in a nutshell, for those of you who haven't had a chance to check in with what 6 a.m. is talking about, it's very simple. It's very simple. Here's the issue. There was a bill passed, it's called DMCA, which stands for Digital Millennium Copyright Act. It was passed by U.S. Congress in 1998. Okay, the idea was designed to protect content curators and pirated copies of their works distributed and monetized online. So they were trying to do the right thing. So for someone who's like just listening, they're like, what did all that mean? It meant that the U.S. Congress was trying to help protect artists. The year 1998, we also were just out of dial-up. Things have changed significantly. Fast forward to now, the biggest company in the world is called Google. They own YouTube. They're worth $500 billion. So for those of you listening, not $500, 500,000, 500 million, billion, $500 billion, okay? And what we're saying is, to Google and YouTube, you are only paying a sixth of what Apple Music and Spotify are paying artists. We would like you to pay fairly. There is a lot of music. That's the number one search engine. There's a lot of great stuff that happens up there. Just pay the artist fairly. Apple figured it out. There was some growing pains, but they figured it out. Spotify's figured it out. So it's not like, hey, you fans, we're asking you to give money. No, we're not. We're saying YouTube should figure out their pay plan so that young artists, if you're a young kid out there and you're making music and you borrow some money from mom and dad and you make a video and you and your friends and you got a cool song, you figure out how to mix it yourself because you don't have to go in a studio now, and you put it up and it starts to take on. Let's say it gets 300,000-400,000 views. And you're like, hey, wow, well, we got a shot here at a career in the music business. And then you realize that you're not really getting paid what you should be getting paid, and you might not even have enough to have a career. And that's all we're saying is, to Google, you're investing in rockets, right? You're investing in rocket ships. You're investing in cars that drive themselves. We're saying, please also invest in the future of music. That is what we're saying. And, the solution is an executive order, President Obama to abolish the current safe harbor clause, which is the DMCA that I talked about before, right? So, there's a lot of people talking about it. I'm going to be honest with you. We've got Katy Perry's leading a petition. We got Metallica's management piping in. Steven Tyler's signed a petition. Pete Townsend. You got 6 a.m. here. Our friends in Five Finger Death Punch. We have to bring this to the front burner for the future of music.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I'm just baffled by the double standard. I know, for example, Major League Baseball really enforces their copyright, and there's no issues. Nobody complains. But when you put out a post, it's like, oh, he's such an awful person for saying, and I don't understand that. Mötley Crüe, if I can, just one question about that band. You have now stopped as a touring entity, but of course the business of Mötley Crüe goes on. Is there anything planned in terms of box sets or greatest hits or any kind of retrospectives? What is sort of next in terms of that band? Anything, or is it really we're done?
We have a live DVD of our last performance ever that we've just finished mixing. It looks fantastic. It was a great show that we're going to put out. We have a legacy that needs to be curated. We have all kinds of stuff, even from vintage merchandise and stuff. So we plan on obviously staying engaged with our fans. It's not like we're just going to disappear as a touring band. Those, we decided that's no more. The Mötley Crüe movie will come out. We're still working on a few of the bugs there, but that's going to work out. So there's going to be Mötley in your life for a long time in one way or another.
Which is a good thing. Recently, Prince passed away, and, growing up in the 80s, much music and MTV, there were times where it was a Mötley video, followed by a Prince video, followed by a Mötley video, followed by a Prince video. What did he mean to you and just the scene in general back in that time?
Prince was the epitome of the artist. He kind of, beat to his own drum. I know people, I don't need to call out their names, that lived with Prince before he made it. He used to live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and he would sit in his room he had a little Casio keyboard and a guitar, and he would just sit in there and make music, like nonstop, music. They'd never see him. When they did, he was nice, in, out, play concerts, little concerts, clubs, whatever. He was constantly making music. Somebody that I dated him before me, and, I heard a lot of stories about the same thing, going, multiple days without sleep, only making music. And I think that was really, that was his thing, man. He just made music and art nonstop. That's why Paisley Park existed, so he could disconnect from the rest of the world and just make music. And he's left us all this great music. And the thing is, he was constantly writing. Can you imagine what those music vaults look like? I mean, I have a couple of his bootleg things. One called the Black Album that I don't believe ever came out. It was rejected. And it's mind-blowing. So I think there's a lot of Prince in our future, Sadly, I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, well, we all are. And there's going to be a lot of Prince and a lot of Mötley. And I do want to respect our time, so I'll finish with this. You are doing that 5-finger Death Punch and Shinedown tour in the fall, and there's just a lot of 6 a.m. dates throughout the summer. Just how important is it for the band to tour and a band to tour in this current market, given that that's sort of the only way to get noticed these days?
We got 2 albums of music.
Right.
We got a back catalog of a lot of music. We got a lot of hits, and we got to take it to the people. And you know what? We're going to have to stand in front of crowds that aren't our crowds. We're going to have to earn it. We're going to have to earn it one person at a time, and we're up for the challenge.
Yeah, and I got to say, I got to give you credit for that, because at the stature that you're at, you don't need to go through this, and you're getting in there. You got to love that. I love that.
I do, and I understand and I appreciate what you're saying, but I do need to do it because I'm an artist, and I'm always going to be one. And you're going to have to talk to me in 10 years, and you're going to have to talk to me in 15 years, and you're going to have to talk to me in 20 years. God knows what I'm going to have to say then, but I'm sure it's going to be cranky, and I'm just going to keep making music, and I'm going to keep doing weird stuff. And I don't know, man. Maybe I'll be on that Google rocket ship doing the first concert, and I'll get paid for it.
That'll be great. And prayers for the Damned Volume 2. Do we have a release date for that at this time?
We're looking September.
Okay.
Maybe October.
Sounds good. Nikki, great pleasure. And I saw 3 of your Mötley shows with Alice. They were fantastic. You are fantastic, and I'm looking forward to 6 a.m. coming to Montreal.
Thank you. See you soon. I love Montreal.
Absolutely. Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
And there you have it, folks, my interview with bassist NIKKI SIXX of the band 6 a.m. And yes, it feels damn good to be able to say that. Listen, I'm a fan, so it's just very, very cool to be able to say that. New album, though, is called Prayers for the Damned Volume 1. Volume 2 drops, as they like to say these days, later this year. The band on tour all through the spring, the summer, and the fall. Part of a package also with 5-finger Death Punch and Shinedown. That is later this year. Do yourself a favor. Buy the new album. Buy the next new album coming out in the fall. And buy a ticket to the show. There you go, folks. Great thrill for me. And I'll just stop right now because I am giddy like a schoolgirl. There you go. Bye for now. Oh my.